Going live thing is coming up. Okay. To those of you who are here in YouTube, please know that this is a room that I'm doing for my Clubhouse peeps. And so I have Clubhouse on my phone down here. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at the people in the room and I want to make sure it helps me to feel like I'm talking to someone instead of just talking to this inanimate screen that I'm looking at. So I'm so grateful to all of you who are here with me in Clubhouse. And a few days ago, I did a topic where I helped people understand the most important ingredient in doing group hypnosis sessions. And that room is available on replay, so I won't beat that dead horse. It's also here on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you can see that. And it helped you see how you can get in state, like get in a really powerful, positive state before you start your call. I actually did this just before I started this because I knew I was going to be streaming on YouTube and my heart was pounding, which I was choosing to frame as excitement and not nervousness. But I went and I stood in front of my window that's in this room and I imagined scooping in like sunshine, scooping in resources. And then I also imagined that I could see all the things that I wanted to cover, like lined up in a path between me and the wall opposite me. And those things were just coming to me one at a time so I could speak in an organized way and just have a sense of flow as I speak. Because sometimes when I'm nervous and I do new things, I want to try to say everything at once. And I'm so afraid I'm going to miss something that I try to talk way too fast. So I'm not going to do that today. But after I did that call the other day, helping people understand how to get in a positive, powerful state before you start the call, a woman reached out to me and she said, I was kind of hoping that you would teach us how to actually structure the call itself. And I said, thank you so much for telling me that. I'm going to do it. And I'm so happy to see that there's several people in the room, even though I didn't schedule this correctly. So I'm assuming this is a hot topic. So this is really good timing because I'm actually teaching this to my mastermind group right now. They are all putting out a call, like doing a group hypnosis session in the next week or so. And I'm giving them this module to help them understand how to structure that call for maximum success. So this is fresh in my mind and I'm hoping it will be super valuable to you. So the first thing, when I structure my group calls, I chunk them into essentially 4 segments. And this is something that I didn't really devise at the beginning, but after doing hundreds of calls and kind of looking and assessing what works and why they are so awesome, which isn't because of me. These are the components that I've found that are really key for creating an awesome group session. So I'd like you to imagine in your mind that there's 4 compartments, and these are linear. They're lined up on a timeline. And the first one is to establish group rapport. And so those of you who are hypnotists, you're used to hearing this. Like the first thing you need to do in a one-on-one hypnosis session is to help that person feel comfortable, help them get to know, like, and trust you. And the reason I love group calls so much is because you actually do this with the entire group. It's not just about you, it's about the entire group feeling comfortable and connected with one another. And this generates such awesome transformation, you guys. It's so much cooler than anything, in my opinion, than anything I can do in a one-on-one session. I'm going to break each of these down. First, I want to show you the 4 components. So the first one is that group rapport, and I usually allow about 10 minutes for that, and I'll tell you how that happens. The next one is an educational pre-talk. So let's say your hypnosis session is to help people, I'm just going to say with insomnia. So for that, the next 20 minutes, you are going to be plugging in like 3 bullet points of things that you want them to understand about insomnia. You know, you might give them some conscious mind tools they can use as far as like create a bedtime ritual or learn how to tune into your body as you fall asleep to turn off those chattering thoughts. There's different, there might be 3 bullet points of things you want them to consciously understand. But what you're really doing, you're doing the 3 E's. So you're educating them, you are setting an expectation, and you are giving them an experience. Now, when I do my group sessions, I do them inside Trancy Tuesdays, which is a place where people meet weekly. So I don't do a lot of suggestibility tests and compliance sets and all that, because the people who are in there they already are convinced that hypnosis is going to work. But if you wanted to put some suggestibility tests in there, this is the place to do it, is inside this 20-minute pre-talk section of the call. Okay, I'm going to move forward and then we'll come back and fill these blanks in a little bit more. I see you walk the talk saying hello, Lori, on YouTube. Thank you for being here. It makes me so happy to know there's somebody here on YouTube. Okay, the third component is the hypnosis session itself. So my sessions are 1 hour long. I feel like anything longer than that can sometimes be overkill, and people are more likely to come and sign up for what you're doing. They're more likely to engage if it's not going to take massive amounts of time. And you truly can deliver incredible value in this time. So the hypnosis portion of my sessions is usually about 20 minutes long. And I do script mine. This is something that I haven't always done. And the reason I script my Trancy Tuesdays is because there are tons of hypnotists in that group, and they want my scripts. And they tell me the fact that I know I can go back and read your script later helps me understand that I can just relax and enjoy, and I can go deeper than ever before because I know I can go back and analyze it later. But I will tell you that my hypnosis scripts are not, I do not create them with the arrogance of thinking, oh, I'm going to make a script that's so awesome that I'm going to fix this person. And I'm just using the word fix, just lightheartedly, give the person the transformation that they seek. I see you people here on YouTube. I'm so happy you're commenting. So I'm not arrogant enough to think that I'm going to create some brilliant script. My intention in my scripts is twofold. It's first to take people on this beautiful journey so they can just relax and enjoy themselves. And then to essentially go in and unlock the lock that has been keeping their unconscious mind from solving this for them, and allow their unconscious mind to solve it on their behalf. And this is really liberating because it takes a lot of the pressure off me to have to have everything perfect and do everything just right. It's me acknowledging like the highest self in me, acknowledging the highest self in you to solve this on your behalf. And the amazing thing is, if people have shown up for your session, then they are already expecting a transformation. And if they're expecting that transformation and you come in with the intention of allowing their unconscious mind to give them that transformation, because it's always them that does it. It's just you giving them the resources to do it. So that's the intention underneath my scripts. And then the final component is the close. And so that's usually about 10 minutes. And it's really cool. I just had a call with my mastermind the other day, and I was telling them, okay, this is what's coming up. I'm going to be showing you these components. And one of the gentlemen in the groups spoke up and said, I always allow people to talk in the last few minutes because it's really important for people to hear themselves speaking about the change that they experienced, because they might have experienced a transformation during the session. And if they don't talk about it afterwards, they might walk away and forget that it happened. And this could be something as simple as writing something in the comments. You could do a Suds, which is that subjective units of distress. So at the start of the session, you could ask them how intensely they're feeling this issue. You could have them imagine that they're falling asleep at night and they're trying to sleep, but they're tossing and turning and they're overthinking, and have them really be there now and notice how it feels to struggle with that lack of sleep and write how intense it is on a scale of 1 to 10. And then at the end of the hypnosis session, you can say, okay, I want you to go back and imagine that you're falling asleep tonight. You have all these tools in place. You're able to just easily close your eyes and fall asleep, and tell me how much more comfortable you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, or where that problem is, how much insomnia do you experience now on a scale of 1 to 10? And when they just see themselves put that number in the comments, it changes everything. Okay, so now I'm going to go back through and break this down a little bit. And before I do that, here in Clubhouse, I am going to plug in a link to my Trancy Tuesdays. I'm trying to get better about putting links in these rooms just because it's out of my comfort zone. And those of you who are on YouTube, I put this in the description. I'm not sure where it showed up since I'm brand new to YouTube Live, but this is a link to my Trancy Tuesdays. And if you guys aren't in my Trancy Tuesdays, you are missing out, because one of the best ways to learn how to get good at something is to model someone who's already doing it. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I've just been doing this for several years. I've been doing group sessions for about 4 years, and I've done hundreds of them. And you can try to figure out how to do it on your own, and that's totally fine, and you will get it. But if you watch someone doing it, it helps. It's like your unconscious mind memorizes how to do it yourself, and you'll get good at it really quickly. And I give people in Trancy Tuesdays get all my scripts. They get all my protocols. They get the hypnosis audios that go with it. So like the hypnosis portion of my call, I record as a professional recording so that you can listen to it anytime. And you have my full permission to use these protocols with your own clients. For any reason, in any context, and you can change them however you would like, and you do not need to give me credit. I'm doing this to put this stuff out in the world, not to make myself look awesome. Okay, so we'll go back and break each one of these down one by one. And I think what I'd like to do is give you a little bit of an experience of what this is actually like, because if you experience it, you'll be able to utilize it even better when you teach the same thing. So to build group rapport, there's a couple different ways you can do this. If you have people on this call who are brand new to you, brand new to this experience, I would start by just saying, hey, just type in the comments where you're from. Or where you're joining us from today. That is super easy. People love talking about themselves. They like being asked about themselves. And this, like, it's so easy. They might feel nervous about turning their camera on. They might be uncomfortable, but just about anyone is going to be willing to go and type something in the comments. And this is the beginning of a compliance set. So when you start to make it really easy for people to engage and join in, you can give them progressively larger ways to join in, and they'll be more likely to respond. So at the end of the call, when you say, share your experience, tell me how much you loved this, people are more likely to speak up and tell you how awesome it was. And the first step is just getting them to start to write something in the comments. And once they've done that, I will say, okay, we're just going to do a fun little icebreaker. And I would like you, and will you all do this with me right now? So if you're watching on YouTube, I want you to do this. And if you're here with me in Clubhouse, I want you to do this. And maybe, like, for those of you in Clubhouse, look at how many people are on this call. If I'm doing my math right, there's a dozen of us here. And just imagine that we are all in the room together. And just bring your hands to your heart and close your eyes. And just notice the sensation of your shirt against your hand. Notice the way your hand feels against your chest. And I'm going to walk you through one of my favorite icebreakers. This can also be a hypnotic induction. This is one of my favorites to do over Zoom. And I learned this from one of the people in my Trancy Tuesdays group named Menno Littell. And so I just want you to imagine, just bring to mind the image of a tiny little body elevator, an elevator that fits in your body. And right now it's at your heart. And as you breathe in, I want you to imagine that elevator moves up to the head. And you can even put one hand on your head right now. And imagine that as you inhale, that elevator moves from the heart to the head. And on the exhale, it moves from the head to the heart. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. As the elevator rises, it brings heart energy to the head. So you are feeling thoughts. And as that elevator lowers, it brings thoughts to the heart. So you are thinking as you feel. And some people like to imagine a color that represents heart energy, and imagine that color moving up into the head on the inhale. Bringing the color that represents thoughts down into the heart on the exhale. Inhale up, exhale down. And now I invite you to move your hand from your forehead to your low belly below the waistline, keeping your other hand on your heart. Just imagine that fabulous little body elevator now moving down into the guts, into the intestines, into the low belly on the exhale. See, you can even stumble over your words and say things like intestines, and people will still get value. And then as you breathe in, that elevator moves back up to the heart, down to the belly, the source of playfulness, imagination, intuition, up into the heart, bringing heart energy down to the belly, and bringing playful intuition and energy up to the heart. And now you can bring both hands back to the heart once more and just notice the sensation of the heart, the mind, the belly being in tune with one another. Knowing that this is happening all on its own as you breathe. And I'd like you to imagine that you could look around this virtual room where there are now 13 of us here in Clubhouse and several people here on YouTube. Even if you're watching the replay, you can just use your imagination to think that everyone who has watched or listened is doing this with you. And how awesome would it be if you could look out and see their body elevator syncing with their breath? And one of the coolest gifts you can give a person is when you're passing somebody at the grocery store, or you see somebody at the coffee shop, and you just imagine that you could see their body elevator syncing. It's almost like sending a little prayer to just allow them to recalibrate to peace. And when you're ready, you can lower your hands and just come back to this moment. So that's one way that I will often help people build group rapport. And usually if I do this on Zoom, which is where I do most of my hypnosis sessions, I will have them, as they have their hands on their heart and they're just feeling that beautiful sensation, they can imagine that there's light in their heart, and that they could just go into the room with one other person who's there on that Zoom call and send that light like a beam from their heart to the other person's heart. And then I have them imagine that everyone who's on the call, and usually I'll say, like, there are 36 other people on the call right now. I want you to imagine that every one of them chose you, and they are all standing around you, sending light from their heart to yours and just saying, I see you. I'm glad you're here. And this is such a powerful way to build group rapport. And you guys, there's actual science behind this, that when people gather together with a shared intention, miracles happen. And this is the reason I say that I believe my group sessions, I'm not saying this, I don't want to disparage anyone's one-on-one sessions, but my group sessions are way more powerful than my one-on-one sessions. And I think one-on-one sessions are valuable and they have their place, but there's so much magic that can happen when a group comes together like this. And this is why I can also say my group sessions are awesome and not be bragging, because it's not about me, it's about the people there. So that covers that first block of time, that 10 minutes for building group rapport. The next one is the pre-talk, and this is essentially where you're continuing to build rapport as you speak with authority. And if you go and listen to the Clubhouse room or watch the YouTube live that I just did that talks about how to get in a powerful, positive state before your call, that this is just going to flow really naturally. And so you are setting an expectation. And one of my favorite ways to do this is to show a little video clip of a man he's setting up 13 dominoes in a row. And each domino is 1.5 times larger than the domino in front of it. You guys can find this on YouTube. I'm not sure what you would search. Maybe I'll put the link in this YouTube video so you can find it. I'll do that at the end. So if you're watching this replay, it will be there. But he says this first domino is 5 millimeters high, and he sets it down with a pair of tweezers. And he said, when I knock this over, it's going to knock over another domino 1.5 times its height. And then he comes and puts the last domino, the 13th domino, in place. And it weighs 100 pounds and it's 1 meter high. And he just knocks over that first domino and it goes boom, 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 as the last domino crashes to the floor. And I'll say, that's what is going to happen today. That, something so beautiful is going to happen beneath the surface that you may or may not notice it happening. And as the days move on, as time goes on, as you sleep and dream tonight, those other dominoes are going to be set in motion, and those obstacles that you've been encountering in your life are going to just to knock over those barriers. So your pre-talk can be as simple as that, but you want to set a powerful, positive expectation for people. And sometimes that can be scary, especially if you're new to doing group hypnosis or hypnosis in general. If you are new to doing hypnosis, I want you to know it is okay for you to start establishing yourself as an expert. It is okay for you to set a high expectation. You are doing your audience a disservice by second guessing yourself. When you understand that all you are is the key turner, all you are is the unlocker, and it's actually their unconscious mind that is doing the work, you start to realize that you are actually doing a disservice by playing small. You are doing a disservice by second guessing yourself and thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I can really help them. But when you start to imagine the incredible gift that you are giving them, and you imagine those dominoes knocking over, and you're like, maybe you are just knocking over the 5mm one today, or allowing them to knock it over, but it's going to radiate and just absolutely transform your life. And that could happen from one little sentence you speak during the call that you don't even realize that you said. Okay, so again, there's these 3 E's that we do during the pre-talk. It's set the expectation, which is the domino thing. And you don't have to explain it that way, but that's how I like to do it. To educate them. So if there's something that you need them to consciously understand about the hypnosis session you're doing, you give them some of those topics. I usually will have like 3 bullet points. Any more than that, and you're going to inundate them, which I tend to do. And then the third one is an experience. So if you have a group of people who are new to hypnosis and are maybe feeling skeptical, here's how I would deal with this. And it can take just a couple minutes. And this is also, you'll see this also has a compliance set built in, because if people participate with you on this, they are proving to themselves that they are going to continue to engage during, like, when you ask questions, and to get the change that they seek. So the first thing I would do, and I learned this from Jason Linett, this is one of the first things I learned from him, and it's so powerful, is just to say, some people, when they experience hypnosis, and I'm not going to say it like Jason, but this is how I say it. When they experience hypnosis, experience this, like, almost this heaviness, like they're sinking into the surface beneath them, and their body is really heavy. Some people experience a kind of a light floating sensation, as if they're floating up out of their chair. And some people, when they're in hypnosis, experience the sensation of just sitting there and listening to my voice. And you can expect to remember as much as you would from any conversation. Sometimes you forget everything that is being said, and you zone out, and your thoughts go off into another place. Or sometimes you hang on every word and remember everything. So I want you to know that whatever you experience, you are doing it right. And if you could see me, you in Clubhouse, as I say, you are doing it right, I'm looking right in my camera and nodding my head as an embedded command. So it can be that simple. And then if you want to say, I want to show you how powerful you, like, when you follow what I ask you to do, and when you allow yourself to engage in this experience, I want to show you how powerful it is. And so I will have people stand up, and this is kind of a bold one. You want to make sure that people are kind of leaning in and nodding, and that they're really going to play along, because this is a big ask. I'll say, I want you just to stand up from your chair. You can even turn your video off if you're not comfortable having everyone see this, but I want you to stand up in your chair, and then keep your feet at shoulder length below you. And so for those of you who are watching or listening, I would love it if you do this with me, because this is really cool if you haven't done this. This is my favorite suggestibility test, because it works every time. I actually had somebody in Las Vegas do this to me to sell me an energy bracelet. He put the bracelet on me. Anyway, well, let me show you. So feet beneath you, and then I want you to hold your right arm directly out in front of you. So your right arm directly out in front of you, as if you're pointing at at a spot directly in front of you. And now keep your feet planted. And as your feet are planted, I want you to swivel around as if the top half of your body was an owl's head. I just said something I didn't want to say and I was going to try to undo it. And I'm going live. Okay. Swivel around and let that arm turn around. This is hard to describe when I don't have video, you guys. And just see how far around you can point and memorize exactly where your hand is pointing. Like, notice the exact spot your hand is pointing to. And now I want you to come back to the front of the room. So I wouldn't have said the owl thing yet. I would have just said, try and twist and see how far you can go. Now come back to the front of the room and I just want you to close your eyes for a moment. And I want you to imagine that the top half of your body was hinged like the head of the owl and it could twist all the way around. And imagine that I just want you to mentally rehearse without actually doing it. Mentally rehearse turning around and your arm going much further. And then coming back to forward. And now I want you to imagine that if the top half of your body could just go around and around and around, just being really silly and imaginative. The unconscious mind loves playful imagination. And just imagine that you could spin around and around and then come back to center. And now I want you to open your eyes and repeat this exact same thing. So bring your arm directly out in front of you and now twist around again and notice how much further your hand twists. And that is the power of your unconscious mind. When you mentally rehearse success, when you imagine yourself having this incredible thing, when you imagine yourself falling asleep easily at night and waking up in the morning feeling refreshed. All right. It is so weird doing this when I have no visual feedback. I know there are people here in Clubhouse. You haven't left, so it must be okay. But it's awesome on Zoom because you can see people in real time doing this. And I want to say something really quick about calibrating. So this is this term where when a hypnotist is guiding someone through, they're watching them. They're noticing their shifts in their breathing. They're noticing flutters in their eyelid. They're noticing nods of agreement. And on a Zoom call, this can be tricky because some people in the room might be super into it and super engaged and nodding in agreement. And some people might be talking to their husband off camera and seem super distracted or be doing something that you're like, what is this person doing? And so I invite you just to find the people who are engaged, find the people who are getting the transformation that they seek and focus on those people and be really mindful of the story you're telling yourself about the person who seems to be distracted and perhaps they're moving and catching your eye. Instead of saying, oh, they're bored, they don't like this, you can just imagine that there is a really good reason that they're doing that and that they are actually getting massive value and that their unconscious mind is hearing everything it needs to hear. We're always telling ourselves a story, and I invite you to tell yourself a positive, powerful story. Now, if the whole room is missing it, you can ask for help. You can step into that protocol that I taught in the last training and just tell yourself, I can do this, and start to look for ways to shift. But generally speaking, if you're following this format, you're going to have people hanging on every word. Okay, so then that next block is the hypnosis session itself. And I've talked about this a little bit. If you are in my Trancy Tuesdays, you're welcome to use any of my scripts. Most of them I've designed them to unlock any problem for any person. They're not super hyper specific because that feels like arrogance on my part to think that I could tell somebody how to do something. It's really telling the unconscious, this is what this person wants, because we set that group intention of creating a picture of what we want, make it happen. And then finally the close. And I've talked about that a little bit already. In fact, okay, I'm going to go out of my comfort zone and ask the people here in Clubhouse, if any of you would like to raise your hand and come on stage to share some aha moments that you received from this presentation. I would absolutely love it. This is just going to be me trying something new. And I do invite people to stage regularly, but I invite you. Okay, yay, Desiree's coming up. So Desiree, I'm going to invite you up, but before I bring you, I'm going to close YouTube because I don't know a way for YouTube to hear what we're talking about in Clubhouse. So if you're here live, you're welcome to pop over to Clubhouse and eavesdrop. If not, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for helping me, being patient with me while I work out this Clubhouse YouTube thing. And have an amazing day. Check out the links in the comments if you want to come and join me in Trancy Tuesdays. I would love it. And I will see you all again, probably on Monday at the same time. Okay, that's finished.